I was at the end of hope. My whole life I had heard that God was a father, but I did not understand what that meant. I hoped he was not like my father. My father was a drug addict and alcoholic. He was physically, mentally, and verbally abusive. We grew up Catholic. I was an altar boy. I went through the motions, but could not make sense of the disconnect between what we as a family showed publicly and what was the horrors at home. Finally, after years of abuse and us moving out and then returning and then moving out again, when I was 11, we left for good. My brothers and I went to stay at my grandparents' house, and my mother went to the hospital. For the next several years, we could not play outside or walk to school. I found out later that it was because my father had told my mother that he was going to come kidnap us. Thinking all of this, through all of this, I knew there was a God, but I just thought that he'd forgotten about me. Life did not get easier from there. With little money and lots of problems in our house, my mother would drag us to church twice a week, thinking that it would make everything better. But all it did was drive a wedge between God and me. Because the more we went to church, the worse things got at home. It all came to a head when I was 16 in the summer of '97. I was in a horrific three-wheeler accident. I was first told by the doctor that he would have to amputate my left leg. The next day that he said he could save my leg, but that I would never walk on it again. I wondered why. If God was there and cared about me, why would he let these things happen? Hadn't I been through enough already? Didn't I deserve a break? The thing I did not know was that I still had one more blow to take. Within the next year, my mother would decide that we were too much to handle and abandon us as well. She decided she was moving to California and we were not going with her. After all of this, I knew that God had forgotten about me, so I figured I would forget about him. I removed God from all aspects of my life. I did not go to church, I quit praying, I avoided everything to do with God and Jesus at all costs. I was filled with anger, fear, and regret. God knew that I was not strong enough to overcome my past by myself. So in the summer of 2004, he introduced me to a person that would lead me back to him. I found hope in Jesus Christ. And little by little, I could see how he was working in my life. I realized that God had never forgotten about me. He was always there, protecting me when I needed it and giving me strength when I had none.